Yo. So I just wanted to get these couple words out about non-duality. All the non-duality teachers are fascinatingly strange, and they all speak in this like cryptic um, language that it's a very strange way of thinking. They say like this is all there is, and it's emerging, and uh, it's really requires a different way of thinking to understand it. In my opinion, it kind of seems like it's a spiritual concept where they're explaining entropy in spiritual world. It's a totally non-personal, uh, like uh, describing a state of awareness, and I do not understand it totally. I mean, I understand it on the level of it's like how everything and nothing is occurring at the same place. When you become absolutely nothing and you witness that emergence, you kind of start to get an idea. But like I'll never truly understand the point of their teachings, really. It's kind of like spiritual chaff. Like you're explaining the way the world is, but it's like a zero sum explanation. And it's kind of strange. And it has like an odd effect on your psyche. Like I said, if you look up most non-duality teachers, they speak in a very cryptic way that it it's like hard for the mind to process what they're saying. But entropy is the study that disorder is basically constantly eating away at order. The universe is producing disorder, and I think if you take that keep going along the line of non-duality, you start to understand that our purpose is simply to be um, like gate locks on a canal, where you kind of you turn that disorder into order, and you make sense out of the nothingness, and you create meaning. And it kind of is like a substructure of the Jewish tradition of like we're here drawing down the infinite light, and then we're turning that into we're improving the world by doing that. And I think that's like a fundamental of non-duality, is that you're like turning infinite chaos into something. And most of the teachers only describe the fundamental state of like the experience of that state, not even like manipulation of it or what can be done from that or what can follow suit. Very interesting. Let's just listen to let's listen to a non-duality teacher, and you'll get an idea of what I'm talking about. Non-duality. Let's see if I can find this lady. I can't even. Let's do another one that I do know the guy's name. In the absence of thoughts, that's non-duality, he says. Which is, yeah, you're just observing like the void state. And yeah. Let's get it going here. Spicy unfiltered cigarettes. Anyway. And they all the non-duality teachers reference like Alan Watts. It's like a Neo-Advaita concept.
Anything different?
Let's get it going again.
Hello. Long time no see, huh? Same old.
And it's depersonalized.
Always the same. Yeah, exactly like this. Always new, always the same. Nothing being everything. As this, let's call it ungraspable aliveness. Being all that seems to be happening. And this ungraspable aliveness is not interested in your ideas about how it should be. This ungraspable aliveness does not recognize you and your story named My Life. This, as everything that seems to be happening, doesn't care about your ideas. Like, what if this could be better? Why is this happening to me? Or, I'm the doer and it should be better than this. It really doesn't give a fuck about you and all the stories in your head. This?
Anyway, so that's kind of a taste of it. But it's expanding on what's his name? Ramana Maharshi, I think is his name. Reality is beyond the mind. And this is non-duality is kind of just like a witnessing of just this. And it's a very hard thing to explain with like a rationale that makes like there's no logic behind it or anything like that. It's just like pure being. Let's see if I can find another teacher that wish I could find this lady that a lot of people will say like it's a lie as well, and it's a strange place because I don't think our brains are like technically able to perceive it. Like where are we at? Where are we at? I mean, there's all kinds of teachers who explain it in this very strange language, and the language does not do it service. And like, there's a lot of people that are like, is this a mental illness? Like, what is this? And it's kind of like, it's interesting. Some people label it as like a spiritual path or something, but I think they're just explaining a concept. And there's nothing to do with it. There's nothing to learn from it. There's nothing to, like, you can experience it. And it's kind of like, I wouldn't even say it's like a bliss state necessarily. It's just like utter emptiness and acceptance. And yeah, it's all very strange. And then, like, oh man, here's a visual metaphor in a comment. You can't experience this, you are this. But it's like explaining multidimensionality in a way.
Behind the screen. Hi, everyone. I wanted to share with you a new toy that I got. And I found that is an excellent visual metaphor for non-duality. This is a piece of pin art, as you can see.
Boom.
So watch this.
Wow. It's like explaining how you imprint yourself into the void.
Think of this as the universe, the world that we perceive. And think of each one of these pins as being one of us. Say that's you, right there. With a brain, with eyes, sensory apparatus, you're able to perceive.
Very strange.
From the perspective of that pin, all you see is what's around you. And you have no idea that you are actually part of a larger whole.
Interesting.
What you miss when you're operating from the perspective of self, small self, and ego, is that you're oneness. You're just one thing. You're a part of the whole thing.
Oh my God.
Little ego.
Jesus, cat.
Oh
my God.
Here we go.
God damn.
There's the whole thing.
Jesus Christ.
Now this is still only half the equation, however. Because we can see very clearly and we can come to an intellectual understanding, but hopefully a deeper understanding, that this whole universe is all interconnected. It is all one thing. It's one thing going on. Except there's another part to this. And that's this part.
The insect.
Behind the screen, so to speak.
The insect.
Behind the illusion of reality, there's nothing there.
Embossed versus
Again,
debossed.
this is a visual metaphor, but this is the core principle of both Buddhism, well, I should say Buddhism, Advaita Vedanta, and quantum physics.
Yeah, Vedanta.
In Buddhism, it is said that form is emptiness. Emptiness is form.
Paradox.
Form
More paradox.
is emptiness. One does not exist without the other.
All right, kitty cat, get on up here.
Emptiness is
Man, you stink. Holy hell. So yeah, it's like, we're getting into that freaking wacky world of Indian perception, but it's a very base level of it's just a concept. And like, if you hang on to that as like your awakening, enlightening experience, it's a very, 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 it's just a fractal part of the whole. It would be like saying, out of all the shapes, the triangle is the one shape that can construct all the other shapes. And like, yes, but that doesn't deny the existence of all the other, the square, the circle, these other shapes. And the non-duality thing is strangely like, yes, it is everything and nothing. And it's like an illustration of emergence, I think. I'm not certain on that. Dang it. But it's not very useful. It's kind of just like a building block to developing a proper map of the territory. Yes, kitty cat. Meow. Wow. And I think it's one of the first and most basic concepts. Most people would just think of like, what is this? Why am I even learning this? What's the point of this? And but it's very important in your building blocks because it explains like how everything is one and how how that works, which is very important. And like one of the strangest new perception I've been having is like, so you think like you're alone with yourself and like you're using the screen and like there's no actual connection between you and that person. I don't know. I've been having a lot of, it's kind of like when you look at a painting and you feel the eyes looking back at you. Like there's energy behind the representation. And like, it's very strange. I feel like I have a way of connecting with people through the subconscious that is done through like photographs and things like that. And there'll be times I look back on like a photograph and I'm like, oh Jesus, like it really is a window to somebody's soul. And the camera steals your soul. There's like an old saying about that, and I think that is actually fairly true. Because it's not who you are, but it's capturing a piece of you, and people will always be able to make that association with you. Like you're no longer just a figment of imagination. There's like an actual representation. And like yeah, the way I came to this understanding actually was through like freaking looking at models, and it's like you can understand what's going on there. And isn't that freaking weird? Do they find that weird? Like, is that an offense? Because you think it's like you're alone with the alone, but the fact of the matter is like we're all connected and God is watching, and it's like you're it's like I saw a post on how it's like a lack of respect. I can see that. It's kind of like freaking dog humping the leg vibe. It's the same thing as that. But that interconnectedness can do wonderful things, especially like between spiritual teachers. I think you actually, through the computer, you can pick up what they're saying on an energetic level, uh, much like as if you were in person with the guru and like sitting with them in the room. I'm able to do it at least with the Sufi teacher that I follow. And yeah, it's kind of intense. It's like a spiritual technology that unlocks through God. I don't think most people use a computer and they like feel the person on the other side of the screen, but I do, and it's very frazzling. It's been a rough 2 years, like I always say. And yeah, like oof. In order to reach the next level, it requires such a level of like if you're really gonna follow like the Christian precepts in preparation for heaven, you understand why it's so difficult. Because then, like when you get there, you don't have a body. Everything is like interconnected. There's no privacy. There's no like, oh, I didn't mean that. It's like a direct telepathic thing, and yeah. God. And like it will be pretty cool, but you understand why there's like different gates and it's all shut off for different people. And the way we've fallen so far in this here planet, like totally forgotten all this, and we're living like animals again, and we're very far from like a unified love your neighbor kind of situation, which is very necessary because like if you approach other people with a very open mind, it makes it easier, and you can like get to the core of somebody instead of their shell, which is just like a facade for everyone. Everyone just has a facade. As much as authentic as like anyone can be, you'll never be able to like touch the true self until after death. And yeah, it's very strange. Very weird. But I think that's my little chit chat on non-duality. I'm trying to think of so what would be the next step after, because that's kind of like the bottom and the top. If you think of like reality as a diamond of like frequency, like very high frequency, waveless to like very low frequency, waveless. And it's very interesting to think about. Um, but we kind of exist in the middle of the frequency band in normalcy land. And like at the very high frequencies, you're able to like remove consciousness from your body and put it somewhere else and like astral project and do whatever. Contact like the astral non-physical. And then like at the very low level is kind of like, I wonder, um, I think things can come in when you're at a very low vibration because it leaves like a wide gap, and that's generally how people like lose their mind or like get possessed and things, is because they've let their vibration fall so low that things can enter into the enter resonance very easily, because bigger the wavelength, the more it resonates other waves. And that's why, like, I think evil has a much easier time, but it can't do the things that a high vibration can, because it has like resonance and it affects a wider range of people much easier. But it's very easy to just step out of that and be a good person. And yeah, so I think that would be the next step after non-duality, is understanding like resonances, and how, like, at the lower levels you open yourself up to the demonic and things that are not you, and at the higher vibration you can resonate with much finer energies. And this is actually one of the interesting parallels with music. It's like yeah, like music with that thumping bass is cool and all, and it feels good, but there's nothing like the like a well constructed uh treble heavy band, where it's like mostly like thin strings and like doing very airy compositions. You can stuff a lot more into that than just something that's like you like you see what I mean? Like, you can add more definition to the sound, and therefore like there's more actual information that's being transmitted through like smaller wavelengths, because there's more pits and troughs, or what is it, crests and troughs. Sorry, I just keep getting ash all over my computer here. But that would be my contribution to this. So non-duality is just like a formational concept, and you can kind of cheat yourself into like enlightenment from that place, because you realize that it's like the beginning and the end, everything and nothing. But it's very not unsatisfying, and it's like the first step. And there's so many other things you can do that are far more interesting, and like yeah, it's kind of like uh, the foundation level of any kind of spiritual concepts, because that explains what God is. And yeah, I think we'll leave it there. That's my little contribution on what I've learned about non-duality. And I would say it's very mediocre, and there's a lot more you can do beyond that. It is not the end of seeking at all. It's not even really the beginning. It's just a fractal component of the totality. And go find the other good stuff. There's better stuff. That's all.